Hi people, I'm Modoni.
I'm Caroline.
Diana.
I'm Sally.
And together we are
SOS Dadas.
Hi Sally.
She didn't know what she was doing.
Welcome back to a new episode on SOS Dadas. I'm so glad to have you guys back. This month we are handling something called healthy relationships.
Woohoo.
And I think every time people hear relationships, we all get excited, right? We want to know what's going on. Okay, but this time it's more on to making sure that we are relating. Okay, we relate with people every day. Whether it's our friends, it's our family, whether it's boys we like, whether it's, our bosses, business partners, yeah? But how do we maintain a situation where we don't feel like these relationships are draining us, but we always feel rejuvenated, right? Because, you can't go through life like a hermit. Okay, they're there, but you don't always end up in a cave. At one point or another, you're going to have to deal with different people. So in my mind, I've broken it down to like the three key things will be communication, time and patience, love and forgiveness. Maybe Dee can give us an idea of how communication is prudent to a healthy relationship.
I think in the African context, it's a bit hard.
Okay.
Because, let me say, you grow up in a culture, don't speak until you're spoken to. We grow up in a culture, unless your parents are highly, have grown up in most traditional setups, children don't have their voice. Because they are taught, even in a space, nobody's asked, what's your idea of something? You'll implement mommy or daddy's idea, And I think that how you grow up will determine how you'll communicate as an adult. And that's just the truth. Because some people are more caged because when they were growing up, when you're growing up, when your mother beats you, keep quiet, don't cry, But unalia. You want to be beaten, you're crying, but they want you to be silent.
Yes, you cry.
Exactly.
And you're inflicting pain.
Exactly, which is supposed to remove noise from tears.
Yeah.
So we grow up very, very constricted and not expressing our feelings, And so even if anything good or bad were to happen to you, you share in the joy alone. So it becomes easier for you to communicate with strangers than as opposed to people who are closer to you in your home and who are your loved ones. Yet they know you intimately. They've seen you grow up, but it's because of your experience as a young person, and that definitely affects that relationship. Because sometimes I remember, when my brother, I used to always say, "How comes we get to be the last people who hear things about you, Diana?" But that does not mean I grew up in a family where people talk. Like my brothers are very open. There are people who they have girlfriends. They took them home. They said, so they were very. But for me, I think I've always grown up. I think for me, it's more of my personality. I by the time I speak, I have deciphered and dotted, crossed the T's in my head by the time it comes out, in my space, and that definitely affects because the people who are intimate with you are not. They don't want to know because they want to victimize you because they want to grow you. But we find it hard. That's somebody close to you when they hurt you, it hurts more because in your mind you're like, you should have known better. Don't you know me better? You know what I like, I don't like. But when they hurt you, it's deeper than a stranger hurting you. So for me, I think the one thing I would say about communicating better in such a setup for people who are in such a setup would be learn to be transparent. What's the difference between transparency and honesty? Honesty is if I ask you, did you do this? You say yes or no. When you're transparent, you give information freely without being asked. It's like seeing through a glass. It's transparent. It's like, here I am. I'm going to say. And I'll give an example for that. I think in my podcast, what is coming a lot clear is that I've been a lot in a situationship. There was once in one of my situationship, it reached a point of I was done. And my mother was the last person to know. And I remember we were in the gym. Then we were walking. I decided to walk that day. And then we began to walk. And then I just decided to tell her about my experience. And it was such a nice moment because she actually listened. She gave me her experience. At even me, Aki, there was a time, this person before your father. I'm like, even you had a life. Before everyone seems like, they met the first one at the first go and they got married.
Eat and go.
Yeah, and for me, it was such a blessing to hear my mom share with me her experience. But you see, I had to be transparent. I had to decide to be vulnerable. And we have to realize that they are human too. And they want us to be their go-to people. So let's not go to quote-unquote outside people who may not even know us the way our parents or our brothers and sisters know us. But these people, when we're transparent with them, they have so much wealth of information, to give us. And they give us at that level. Sometimes we feel like they'll victimize you, or they'll go like, how could you have been so dumb to do that? Actually, people outside can be dumb to tell you that. But people in the home will be like, imagine, don't worry, this is what you can do. So for me, learning to be transparent, freely give information without being asked, makes that channel of communication much easier to penetrate. But when we withhold, when we wait to be asked to say, then there's always the barrier for, don't you trust the person who knows you better? Yeah.
It's funny. I've never thought about communication and discipline being the one thing that sometimes the reason why we don't know how to communicate is because we were being disciplined.
Yeah.
It's because you go like, so you just say, and then you realize before, when you just say, a beating follows. Yeah. So it's very interesting about that, how we need to be careful, when we're talking about disciplining or correcting somebody, is that we still need to be able to leave them with an essence of being able to communicate, as opposed to completely instilling discipline that they lose their voice.
Yeah. I think for me that's the one thing. I remember, and I told you, I think a year ago in 2018, the one thing I wanted to do was find my voice.
Yes.
And it's not because
you wrote about it somewhere.
Did I?
Yeah, I think your journal or something, then you read it.
And I really wanted to find my voice, so that, not that I don't speak, I'm a very chatty person, but it helps you to be able to speak inner things that you don't normally do. And doing it with your loved ones is so important.
I think we took on the same challenge that year, because you sit down and you realize, yes, I may be chatty, but every time something is being done to me, I don't speak out. It's like, I will let you kalia me, finyilia me, abuse me, and it'll be like, it's okay, it's fine, it is well, move on. But I think when we finally did try doing that last year and trying to find our voices, every time somebody would come for you and it wasn't appropriate, we weren't rude, but we were clear to speak out and say, that is not right. Exactly. You can't come into my space and steal my joy. And you're in your very own right to pull that, to say that. Because if you don't, you end up feeling so stressed out by this relationship, because I feel like you're always taking. Yes. And I expect you to figure it out, that you're always taking for me.
You should actually be able to understand that you're taking and draining me.
Yes, but the thing is, if I don't tell you that, how will you know?
You understand? They're
very, because if you tell somebody you love them, but I feel like they actually, first of all, the first thing they do is they look at you in shock. Like, when did I do that? When did you feel like I was doing that? So it's really important that you find your voice and you learn how to communicate clearly and calmly, and not in a rude way, so that even they don't feel like they're also losing their voice, so that you can find a beautiful way for maintaining a healthy relationship. Because some relationships just fail because no one was talking. If I didn't tell you how I was feeling, that I was feeling lonely, another one is just thinking, why are they always hiding in a corner? Things break just because no one spoke up.
Yeah, that's true. And I think also there's a lot of what Diana talked about, the culture. We are Africans. We're used to sweeping things under the carpet. When things are not pleasant, we do not address them.
Yeah.
So actually, I've always grown up people telling me, Caroline is so blunt. But I'm like, wait, you want me to lie to you? But it's the culture of sweeping things under the carpet that will make people feel that I don't need to talk about it, because if I talk, I'll be labeled blunt, and blunt is wrong.
Yeah.
But for me, tell me the truth, as opposed to giving me kisses behind my back with lies.
Okay. But Carol, you're blunt.
That's a fact. You don't be lied to.
No, but I mean, we came to appreciate it because you realize I'd rather deal with that than not know what I'm doing to somebody else. That's true. Okay, today the planes, we just...
I think it's a lot of flights taking off and landing really
strong. Yeah. Okay, Sally, so let's think about time and patience. How does that help in building a healthy relationship?
The song that has just come to my mind is...
There's always a song with
always,
Sally.
I know. You'll always get a song from me. Love takes time to heal. Love takes time to heal. You guys don't know your old... classic songs. I love soulful songs. So that song means a lot. Time, after you've identified the communication aspect of in a relationship, very effective. You need to take time, take time to heal and to get to know and to digest the information that you've received. So when specifically you think of time also comes with patience, so they correlate together. So I think I'd like to relate this to a verse that I've found in the Bible, that in Hebrews 10:36, that says, "For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of God, ye might receive the promise." So in order for you to receive the promise, you have to have patience.
Yeah.
Right. So specifically, the promise here in the context of happy, healthy relationships is the promise of true, honest, intimate relationships with whoever you're in a relationship with. So the time aspect and the aspect of patience is a big important factor. And so a moment, usually like when you get upset, I'm thinking now in a sense that you're upset with somebody. Our first carnal nature is to you want to rant onto them, but a moment of patience in a moment of anger saves you 100 moments of regret.
Yeah.
Who can testify there?
That's so true.
No one can't. You know that moment of anger, you just decided to speak on impulse based on feelings. So when you look at things to do with time and patience in a healthy relationship, factor in the aspect that you're human. You have chances of getting angry and lashing out, but just know that patience is there for you to take a step back. Say, whoa, what is going on here and what is at stake? So again, the value of the relationship. Am I going to use this bout of anger to damage my entire relationship with the amount of time I've built with this person? Or am I going to take a walk, come back? You know those situations you're told you're better off taking a walk. Yeah, walk it off. Taking a walk and then coming back and dealing with it. And basically, still under the factor of time and patience, I think that a strong relationship requires a choice where you choose to love each other, especially in the moments that are of struggling. When you struggle with one another, like you choose love. So love is the basis for the relationship. So when you're thinking about being patient with somebody and taking time to forgive them, as we said earlier, you need to give people the benefit of doubt. And when you look at patience and the amount of patience that, even as we said earlier, God has had patience with you. You have messed up, you still mess up. You will mess up. Yeah? But God, the ultimate person who has the complete right to be pissed at you.
Yes.
To hold hundreds of grudges against you. Knowingly or unknowingly, you have offended God. So if he can have patience, he's not destroyed us with fire and brimstone as he did at the time for Sodom and Gomorrah. He's not doing it again. He said he never will. And so when it comes to looking at the ultimate guidebook when it comes to patience, especially in a loving relationship, because I believe all relationships should be based on love. I don't think a relationship should be based on what you're giving me and what I'm giving you. It should be based
a transaction.
Yeah, it's not a transaction. So yeah, basically when you talk about time, trust and building healthy relationships based on patience and the taking time to heal, then you're bound to have a positive outcome.
Okay, cool. I like that. Patience once in a while. It's funny. It's like because we do tend to flare up. The whole countdown thing, when you're told, like, when you get angry, count backwards from 10. And then you're struggling. What comes after 9? What comes after 8? To, like, remove your focus on what basically is making you feel upset, right? Because that basically gives you time to focus, not focus, to stop your focus on what's making you angry and what is actually going to affect your relationship. Because that moment, like Sally said, one moment of anger and you said the wrong things, getting that back can do so much damage to a particular relationship that is actually not worth it at all.
Yeah, and actually, if you think about it in reality, it's easier said than done, trust me. I'm not saying this in an authoritative way that, hey, for sure can you offend, for sure I'll take time. No, it has to be a conscious effort where you consciously tell yourself, and you can't do this if you're not with a motive to love somebody. Like, have motives for your relationship, guys. Don't just friendship, family relationships, like get to the point where you want to build a relationship for the benefit of both of you. So and that is love. So from that point of view, then time and patience will become your norm. Of course, the first time utakasirika, you'll get upset. There are times, honestly, even with my family, with my friends, certain friends, I'm like, honestly, like, why am I your friend? Why are we together? Like, what
are we
exactly?
doing?
Yeah, but then like when you now go into more intimate relationships where you're looking at marriage, when you're looking at where, you know, many of us want to reach that point, build those characteristics even before you enter an intimate relationship.
Yes.
Practice with your friends. Are you patient? Are you the last person to criticize? Are you giving them the benefit of doubt? Take time apart. I mean, the sad thing with marriage, you can't walk out of your marriage and say, I'm not sleeping here tonight. And I'm not advocating for married people to do that. Kama umeingia ndoa, there's a way in which, if you've entered marriage, there's a way in which you have to, you know, work it out together. But if
It's
you're
called practicing healthy relationships.
Amen.
Basically.
So if you can
Yeah.
do that in your own, when you're single, with your siblings, you know, give time. Take a breath. Breathe in, breathe out, woosah. You know, stay calm and make sure you're patient with one another.
I want to throw this to Carol, where we think about love and forgiveness, yeah? And when I think about this particular statement, I think about how God has always loved us and always forgiven us, despite the number of things that we may do, yeah? So how do you apply this so that you can get a healthy relationship? And therefore, how do it in a way that is cheerful at the end of the day, so you don't feel like it's taking away from you by showing love and forgiveness?
It's quite a hard question, but I'll try and answer it in a practical way. So, learning to forgive quickly helps you. And forgiveness helps you, not the person you're forgiving.
That's true.
Because, on the other hand, if you do not forgive, what happens? You'll have bitterness in your heart and you'll be very resentful towards this person. So, you're carrying this burden psychologically in your mind and heart about this person who at times probably has no clue that they've messed up. And you know who gets messed up, it affects your mood, it affects even how you relate with other people. And what I've learned is that bitterness clouds your judgment.
Correct.
What I would say is that bitterness is poison in relationships.
That's
So
true,
be that
yeah.
it's your mom, your husband, your dad who's annoyed you, it goes back to, if you do not forgive quickly, that unforgiveness becomes bitterness becomes resentment, and you feel so unfulfilled, you feel so empty. It does not help you, and even it does not help this other person. And I think at the end of the day, God created us to be human beings that relate with one another, and he tells us the first command that I give you after love your God is love your neighbor as yourself. So he actually commands us to love. It's not easy to love people, especially when someone has wronged you. And then about the forgiveness, but remember that when you don't forgive someone, God is also not forgiving you. Because even in the Lord's Prayer, we pray that forgive me for my trespasses as I've forgiven those who've trespassed against me. So it goes back to, it's something that you have to be deliberate about. It does not come normally. It's not a normal thing. It's not a switch button. It's, you have to decide in your heart.
Yeah.
And more so if you think that living with your siblings is harder, hey, wait to get married, you're gonna have it tough. Like at times I'm usually like, what did I get myself into? Because I really can't remember so many instances of, the closer a relationship you have with someone, the more they will keep stepping on your toes, and the more you keep stepping on their toes. So I keep looking at, my mom and I are close, and also my sister and I are close, but I don't think their offenses are as many as I feel my husband's offenses to me are. But it goes back to, it's because of the bond we've built, and then also over the years. So going back to Sally's point, over the years, as you build a relationship with someone, you're able to see, this one I can let go. There are things that year one, when we became friends, Diana would do, and I'll be like, what's up with that girl? I'm gonna shoot her brains out. Right now, if she does, yeah.
Diana has no comment.
I know. So right now, the things she does, and even I'll be like, I expected that of Diana. Because you see, as time goes, you grow together and you develop patience towards another, which enables love to thrive and forgiveness to be happening. So it's a whole cycle that it's, if you've wronged me, I will communicate. And because I communicate about you wronging me, and because we've learned to grow together, you will apologize. When you apologize, what happens? Forgiveness happens.
Yeah.
When forgiveness happens, what happens? We live still in a love relationship, be it a spouse, a sibling. So it's a full circle, and it goes back to, all those things are deliberate.
What if apology doesn't happen?
at times you accept apologies even from people who've not said it. You accept it in your head. He apologized, hey, yo, and you move on. Because by then you do not, if you wait for him to say he's sorry or her to say that they are sorry, it doesn't help you. At times you accept that apology even when it's not given for your own sake. I love my brother. He's such a peacemaker in our family.
Yeah.
My brother, by the way, if you wrong him, and he knows that you guys are struggling in your relationship, but then imagine he'll tell you, I'm sorry. Even if it's not him, just being the bigger person.
Takes one for the team.
Yeah, and it goes back to, if you're a believer truly, what does God's word say about you? Live at peace with everyone, as long as it's possible with you.
Yeah.
So that living at peace with everyone, as long as it's possible with you, at times it calls for, Modoni, I am sorry. Though I know Modoni wronged me.
Yeah.
And you move on so that you stop the strife that you're having.
In any effort, basically, to maintain a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
There's a skill that I learned from Carol that really helps me
Let me hear.
with my mom, right? Because you know the way it doesn't, just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that you'll always have peace.
Oh, yeah.
And the longer and the deeper those relationships are, like we're talking about your husband, basically, the more they can really get into your skin, right? So Carol has this effective way of dealing
with your mom.
with your mom.
Your parents in general.
Yeah. And she reminds us of the fact that when we were babies, we didn't have diapers, we wore nappies. So she does the whole thing. She changed my nappies, not diapers. She changed
She even
my
cleaned
nappies.
them.
She washed them. She changed them. So one day, I think my mom and I were in the middle of something. I ended up calling Carol, and I was just like, she changed my nappies. She changed my nappies. She changed my nappies. Oh, it calms you down, because the thing is, you ultimately come to realize. No, but it's true, because the thing is, I'm quick to imagine that my mom is wronging me because she doesn't like me,
And she wants the worst
and
for
she wants
you,
the worst for me. But if you really think about this, and this is our parents, right? They took care of us when we were a mess. As in, I've never had my mom complain about, changing my nappies and anything. She's never complained about labor, and my mom was induced to have me.
I know.
I got to know this story like 2 years back, and had at no point has she ever talked about how her labor was, how her whole thing was. Exactly. So when now she just, asks me a little bit, you don't even know what she's done to put up with you.
Yeah. Like, I remember my mom till today, she has a stomach issue that at times her stomach aches from as she had when she was having me 31 years ago, eh?
And she never mentioned it.
what?
So when she's asking you to take her to the market and you're busy here thinking,
I know.
what is wrong? You're wondering, you do understand that all the things, first of all, she went through the terrible twos.
Yeah.
There was the teenage, which was just everything. There's the homework.
Thank you, ma'am.
Then dressed you up and everything. So I think at the end of the day, when you're trying to maintain some of these relationships, you need to remember how far you've come from, because it's so quick to imagine that things are going wrong now, yet you don't know how long I've worked with you.
Yes.
You don't know, you have no idea how somebody has seen you through something, yet here you're busy being angry with them. So it's really important for you to step back, have a look, learn how to communicate, allow time to come through, allow for patience, forgiveness. Every single minute, very important, right? So as we wind up part 1, next time we'll be talking about boundaries, which I think is also very important in maintaining healthy relationships.
I can't wait.
So what would be your final, shot for this session?
Mine would be always evaluate the cost of that friendship or relationship before you make a very harsh action towards it, because you may decide, I'm going to pour my 1,000 words in a minute, but it will damage that relationship forever. And sadly, you cannot put back words in your mouth. You cannot take them back.
I think for me, as a statement I had, it says, when the purpose of the thing is unknown, abuse is inevitable.
Okay.
What does that mean? Now I'll use this in terms of healthy relationship and boundaries. Have you defined the purpose of that relationship? Or are you in relationships that have no purpose or adding value? Because abuse will be inevitable in those relationships.
Actually, it actually makes you now wonder what relationship are worth keeping.
Exactly.
Because not every relationship you maintain is important. Sometimes actually people are keeping unhealthy relationships that do nothing for them.
You have to do an audit.
You have to do an audit. You need to see what needs to go away.
80-20 rule.
80-20, to see as in, is this friendship worth it?
Yes.
Because sometimes you're holding on to things here that you really need to let go of. And no matter how many times you give it patience and no matter how you communicate, you just keep going around in circles. It might be time to let go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diana. Sally?
Wow, yeah, I'm learning a lot, because this is something that I would not say in totality that I have just particularly overcome all this. It's something that I grow with, and every time I remember these things, communication, patience, time, and forgiveness. It's easier said than done, but relationships don't last because of the good times. They last because the hard times were handled with love and care. So the basis of everything is love and care. So when you have love, you will remember that to love somebody, even how you want to be loved, it's based on these things. You want to be able to effectively communicate. You want to be able to be effectively heard when you're saying something. You want to be forgiven. And care is that extra effort you put in order for you to be able to be loved. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you, Sally. So as we wind up, just want to keep reminding our listeners to find us on our blog,
Yes.
on our Facebook, on our Instagram, on YouTube. We are SOS Dadas. That's our handle for all of those. Thank you so much for Billy Black, our super producer. He is also super cool. So until next time.
Bye.